Video is meant for first year MBA students and will help them in the course quantitative techniques of business statistics. But I'm going to explain things at a very simple level so that even students who have not studied maths in the 11th and 12th grades will also be able to easily follow. In this video, we are going to be looking at interquartile range, box and whisker plot, and 5-point summary. So we have the data set next to us right here. Okay, so as always, the first thing that we do is try to arrange it in ascending order. Okay, let's number them. There are 19 numbers in our data set. Okay, so the central key of quartile is basically you divide the data into 4 parts, right? So the whole data set is divided in such a way that you find 4 brackets in such a that each bracket will hold 1/4 or a quarter of the data, right? So in this instance we have 19 observations ranging from the minimum value of 4 to the maximum value of 92. So you need to identify those points, okay, which will divide this data into 4 compartments. Now you must be familiar with the idea of median. What does median do? Median basically divides data set into 2, right? It divides into 2 compartments. The lower half will hold 50% of the value, the upper half will hold the remaining 50% of the value. And how do we find the median? We have the formula to find the position value. If we use the formula n plus 1 by 2, n plus 1 divided by 2. In this instance, n is 19 because there are 19 observations. N is 19. N plus 1 by 2 is 19 plus 1 by 2 is 20. 20 by 2 is 10. So the median is therefore given by the value corresponding to the 10th observations in this data set. Okay, so the 10th observation in this data set is 38. There are 9 observations below the value 38 and 9 observations above the value 38 in our data set. Right, so basically what we've done is we've identified the midpoint in this data set. Okay, say quarter, you have to find another bracket so that this whole data set is divided into 4 different compartments. Now I've already divided into 2 compartments. I've identified 38 as the midpoint of this. Okay, so 38 is the midpoint of this, and that is corresponding to the 10th value. Now this particular 38 median is also called the 50th percentile, is also referred to as Q2. Okay, it's referred to as Q2, and you will see why in a bit. Now I have to divide the whole data set into 4 parts in such a way that each part will have a minimum of 25% of the observations. Now I've already divided into 2. Now let's look at this data set here, the top part. Okay, so in this, now I need to find a midpoint of the remaining whatever is below 38. Okay, so now I exclude 38 and I find the midpoint of these 9 values. So there are 9 observations, so 9 plus 1 is 10, 10 by 2 is 5. So I need to find the 5th observation, so this particular value 5. Okay, so if I take the 5th observation, you will notice that there are 4 observations below that and 4 observations above that. So if you take 5, okay, that will divide this data, the lower half of our median, it will get divided into further 2 components. Okay, so that value is 23. So 23 therefore is your value which divides it into 2 parts. Okay, so this value 23, okay, therefore is your first quartile. It's referred to as Q1. Q1 23, right? So now all that we have to do the same thing. Now divide the other portion, the upper portion, into which is the top 50% observations into 2. Okay, so now we need to skip this value 38 and look at the values above. Okay, in this there are again 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 observations. There are 9 observations here. So again, let's divide this. So to find the midpoint, the formula that we use is n plus 1 by 2. N for this is 9, 9 plus 1 is 10, 10 by 2 is 5. So we take the 5th observation here or the 15th observation in the original data set. Okay, that's going to be our 75th percentile value. Okay, this is the 75th percentile. 75th percentile, this is the 25th percentile, this is the 50th percentile. Okay, so your Q3 is 78. Okay, now what we have done is we've neatly divided our original data set into 4 compartments. Okay, the first compartment, that is this bit, it carries 25% of the values. So 25, the way it is said is 25% of the values are contained below Q1. So this is our Q1. So we can very clearly see there are 4 values below Q1. Q2 will carry 50% of the values below it. Okay, so there are 9 values. Okay, then we look at Q3. Okay, so Q3 will hold the remaining 25%. Okay, so now we have identified 3 points, Q1, Q2, Q3, and these represent the quartile values. Okay, now the interquartile range is basically defined as Q3 minus Q1. IQR is Q3 minus Q1. And the idea is this bit here, Q3 minus Q1, it will carry the middle 50% of the observations in your data set. Okay, so our interquartile range is nothing but the range of values which will carry the middle 50% of any observations. Now, if I add the value of minimum and maximum to this whole set here, you get what is called as a 5-point summary. Okay, the minimum is in our observation is the least value here 4, and the maximum value is 92 in our data set. Okay, so these 5 points, okay, together it is called the 5-point summary. There are 5 points. It gives you the minimum, it gives you the maximum, it shows Q1, Q2, Q3. So Q1, Q2, Q3 respectively divides it into 4 compartments. Okay, a graphical representation of this 5-point summary is called the box and whisker plot. Okay, so your box and whisker plot looks something like this. So there is a box which is drawn, a box is drawn at the middle. Okay, and at the edges of it we denote Q1 and Q3, which is corresponding to 25th percentile and the 75th percentile. Median or Q2 comes at the middle, and on the left side you indicate the minimum and the right side you indicate the maximum, right? So this is your box and whisker diagram. So let's just try to copy this, and then so box and whisker plot is a graphical representation of the 5-point summary. Okay, so the minimum is 4, Q1 is 23, Q2 is 38, Q3 is 78, and the maximum value is 92. And interquartile range is Q3 minus Q2, 78 minus 23. So which is 55. 78 minus 23, 55. So this is your interquartile range. IQR defined as Q3 minus Q1. So this video we have seen how to arrange data in such a way that you can identify the 3 points, which is Q1, Q2, Q3, so that the data is divided into 4 different parts, and each of that part is called a quartile. Q1 is called the 25th quartile, Q2 is called the 50th quartile value, Q3 is called 75th quartile value. If you add the minimum and maximum of values to it, you get what is called as a 5-point summary. And a graphical representation of the 5-point summary can be made in this way, and it's called a box and whisker. What you find in the middle is the box, and on the side you have what is called a whisker, like a cat's whisker, right? And right in the middle of the box you draw the median. So this is your box and whisker plot.